Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2219. The topic is Q&A, and the title is, Do you need to repeat exercises? One of my personal trainer clients sent the following question, comparing how we do monthly programs and progressions and how training programs are at commercial gyms. Can you get strong by doing a different workout each day you work out? No consistency of exercises. I know there are many factors such as intensity, how many days you work out, etc. But in general, if factors were the same intensity, same number of days of training, would you get strong with variety every workout? Just a thought, because I make up different exercises every week, which is satisfactory for commercial gyms, since some clients are looking to just learn machines, exercises, get a good cardio workout, etc. But will they get strong? I love these kind of questions. I'm very fortunate, very happy. I get to work with a lot of personal trainers. Over half of my clients are personal trainers. So we get to talk a lot about these kind of fun nuances and details. I love getting lost in the weeds. So this is stuff that I really enjoy. Now, 3 thoughts after reading that question that I shared with them that I wanted to share in today's podcast. The first is intensity progression is necessary for progress in both like muscle growth and then also non-specific strength. What this means is when they were saying, can you change exercises? It's not exercise consistency that creates progression, like that creates continued adaptation by the body. What creates continued adaptation by the body is increased intensity in our workouts. When you track your workouts, meaning you're tracking your exercises and the exercises are repeated, that is a method that you can use to track intensity, to ensure that every time you come into the gym, you're giving the best of what your body has. We're not always going to, have that mentally. Meaning some days we come into the gym, we want to crush everything. Other days we didn't even want to come to the gym. So how do we create consistency in our intensity when we don't always have the consistency in how intense we want to be? One method would be to repeat exercises, track the weight you're using, the number of sets, the number of reps, and then each time you repeat that exercise, you try to progress in weight or reps or even like technique quality, like minimizing momentum, maybe having more control, better position. You want to have some way of ensuring that you've progressed as a method to push the intensity each week to continue to push the body to make adaptations. Our body only changes if it feels like the way it is now wasn't good enough. We want to stay safe in our workouts, but we need to create this sensation to the body that says, holy crap, whatever that was, I barely was able to make it through that. I need to get stronger, I need to get bigger, I need to do whatever the stimulus adaptation response that we desired was, and whatever that was set up for in the workout. We want the body to feel that making that adaptation is necessary. How we do that is always pushing the body to the edge of what it can do. And then tracking our repeated exercises to make sure that we're pushing ourselves to our limits every time we come into the gym is how we ensure that to happen. So the reason why exercises are repeated is not that alone is what makes positive adaptation. It's because that allows us a method in which we can track our intensity progressions. This is helpful to know. Because if we know this, then we might say, okay, well, how else can I track intensity progressions? Meaning, if I can find another method, then repeating exercises isn't necessary. And you'll find that to be very true. So this method of ensuring intensity increase is helpful for beginners because often they don't know how intense they actually can be. They underestimate what they're able to do. So sometimes the first time they perform a movement, they'll say to you that they're trying their best, and as a trainer, you'd be like, well, there's definitely some more in there. But if their perception is this is their best, then repeating that exercise in a future workout, they are a little less consumed with trying to learn how to do it. It's not as new and overwhelming, and then all of a sudden they can perform a little better because there's less of these other elements getting in the way of their performance. So you'll often find that the first time somebody performs something, they'll give their best, but their best can actually be bettered the second time you repeat it. Then when you go from the second time to the third time, if we think of this like weekly progressions. So let's say week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and so on. Week 1 to week 2 is pretty easy for people to make progressions, and pretty significant one. Meaning they can get an extra rep or two on multiple sets, or they can move up 5 or 10 pounds. The amount of progression is usually quite significant in weeks 1 to 2. Then week 2 to 3, the amount often lessens a little bit, but it's still able to be done. Weeks 3 to 4, it often then becomes very challenging to make some type of significant progression, whether that be an extra rep, across all sets. Maybe they only get one extra rep in the first set, and then they try their best and can only match their reps on the second and third set. Maybe they can move up 5 pounds the first set, but then they have to back off and go back to the normal weight in the second and third set. Usually the significance of the progression is a downward trend. So weeks 1 to 2, big progression. 2 to 3, a little bit less. 3 to 4, a little bit less. 4 to 5 would be, exceptionally less, and so on and so on and so on. So when I write programs, and this is what they alluded to in the beginning of the question, is comparing how we do monthly programs and progressions. So how I do it with my clients is I write them new workouts every 4 weeks. And this would mean they have new exercises or new order of movements. There's newness to the workouts that would then prompt us to restart progression tracking in most cases. So we do 4-week rotations because I found that to be by far the best. I'm 41. I started writing workouts and helping other people in programming when I was 16 years old. I started getting paid for it when I was 18. So I've been doing this for a long time. Thousands and thousands and thousands of clients. I love it. It's still exciting to me today as it was when I was 16. But what I've found is week 1, the person basically kind of learns the movement. Week 2, they can refine it. Week 3, they feel locked in, dialed in. They feel really good with it. Week 4, it was really hard to make a high quality progression. The longer you stay with exercises after 4 weeks, usually the technique starts to become less and less and less like lower quality for them to try to squeeze out an extra rep or 5 extra pounds. So usually the progression quality gets lower and lower and lower as you go longer, and their risk of injury gets higher and higher and higher. So I like to do 4-week progressions. Now, does this mean I do this all the time? Nope. It's just what I do most common. Some cases in which I might deviate from that would be, say, a powerlifting client, and we want to get them ready for a competition. So they have to do a competition-specific squat, bench, deadlift. We might have them do that competition-specific style for, say, 12 weeks before the competition. The weeks 1 to 4, furthest away, so like week 12 to 8 from the competition, we're going to get back under the bar, kind of get our normal technique. We're trying stuff at like maybe an 8 RPE, just like where it's challenging, but it's not pushing them too hard. We're just kind of reacclimating after trying some off-season variations and whatnot. Then weeks, so 8 to 4-ish, we're now going to start pushing the intensity up, pushing their nervous system acceptance of weight load, and pushing their technique adherence under intensity. Then weeks 4 to 2, we're really kind of topping that off and peaking it up. And then weeks 2 to the show, like to the meet, we're kind of allowing the body to recover. So before then, accessories have dropped a lot. But their exercise repetitiveness is not uncommon to be, say, 12 weeks. However, everything else around that exercise has changed. They may have a different warm-up routine every 4 weeks. Maybe they'll have different accessories every 4 weeks. We want to change some element because it allows us the chance to still progress intensity, to get continued adaptations, and it brings us out of repeated movement patterns which can cause injuries if you repeat them too often for too long. and especially under too high of an intensity. So there are cases in which I might stick with something longer than 4 weeks, but it's usually only a singular element of the workout. I'm not repeating the entire workout. Other cases in which you might find somebody who repeats a workout for longer than that might be people who do bodybuilding, and especially if they're enhanced. What you'll find is they might say, hey, the next 16 weeks, I found all the exercises in my off season that feel the best for me at this point in time in my training. I want to now take these movements and really fine tune and progress and push progressions into the show. What you'll often see in that case is their drug usage increases over the course of those 16 weeks. So as they do the first 4 weeks, now all of a sudden they maybe inject a little more testosterone. That's going to give them a little more strength. All of a sudden they can still make continued progression. Then maybe they add another element, another compound, and so on and so forth. So they might be adding drugs in order to help them make continued progressions for that long. That is not always the case. By no means is that always the case. But it's an example. What I found is when I see people repeat programs for longer than 4 weeks, they tend to have more occurrence, have acute and small injury concerns. Their elbow starts bugging them, their knee starts bugging them, something just starts not going well. And their ability to make progressions each week lessens to the point where they don't have it at all, and then all of a sudden their adaptation stops happening. This is especially important whether we're deciding, okay, do we want non-specific strength progression or do we want specific strength progression? What this means is, are you trying to get stronger at a specific movement, such as squat, bench, deadlift, or are you just trying to get stronger in general? If you're just trying to get stronger in general, changing movements more often makes way more sense, because it's much lower injury risk. If you're trying to get specific strength, meaning get better at something specific like squat, bench, deadlift, maybe an overhead press or log clean and press if you're a strongman, stuff like that. If you have an event coming up and a competition, and you're going to need to repeat that, the more variety you can place around that, again, the lower the injury risk, the injury concern, and those nagging little annoyances, the more they go away. So I'm a big fan of creating more variety. In some cases, I'll see programs out there that are 8, 12, 16 weeks, and I'll be honest with you, I think the trainer's just too lazy to write them more often. So that's my opinion, but I've actually, like I said, over half my clients are personal trainers. I've talked with a lot of personal trainers over the years as colleagues. So they weren't necessarily clients. We were just discussing methods and ways in which they do things. And, I've seen it all. I've seen somebody copy and paste a different client's name to the same program and send it to them and charge them a one-on-one personalized fee, which is total bullshit. I've also seen people, send, here's my program that every powerlifter should follow. Total bullshit. Absolute bullshit. There should be some personalization to it because not everybody's the same. So you'll have a million reasons why you might see programs written for longer than 4 weeks, but I would say that the longer the program is written for, the less good those reasons are. That's maybe an interesting way of saying it. So that's essentially what the main reason why people would repeat exercises is because they want to track performance and push performance intensity, and that pushes the body to continue to make adaptations. Now, for myself, I don't typically repeat exercises. If you want to, you can follow along with some of my workout postings on Instagram and YouTube. I've been sharing more of what I do in my workouts. I have videos where it shows me doing a working set for each exercise, and then I have the write-up of the workout, and then I have about a 3 to 5 minute video of me talking about my thoughts and what I was doing in the workout. The reason why I wanted to start sharing that was a lot of my clients were looking for exercise ideas. They're looking to learn more about workout concepts, and I can also show movements that my clients should be repeating or doing, like that's in their programming. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll do it, and they can see how I do it. There's a lot of benefits to it, and I enjoy doing it, by the way. So what you'll find is I never repeat the same workout twice. I'll probably post these videos for the next, for all of 2025, and I would be amazed if you can find that I repeated the workout. The reason why I don't repeat exercises In like, I guess a better way of saying that is I don't repeat the workout's entirety, meaning the exact same exercise, exact same order, exact same sets and reps. I don't do that because when I was younger, I was learning from magazines because I'm a million years old and we didn't have internet then. So I was learning from magazines, and most programs were written for, do this for 8 weeks. Well, by the third week, I was bored to death and I wanted to learn more stuff. So I was excited to learn new movements. So I liked to have newness in my workouts. And then also, since I started training other people at 16 years old, I very quickly realized what worked for me didn't necessarily work for everyone else. Maybe some exercise felt really good for me, but it didn't feel good for another person. And I was like, well, I wonder why. So I started to see the difference in anatomy, starting to see the difference in just general preferences. So for example, I like to train my legs with high reps because they grow better. Other people might like lower reps. Maybe their body responds better to lower reps. When I do low rep training for my legs, they actually get smaller. I get stronger, but I don't get bigger legs. They actually get smaller. So you'll have person-to-person differences due to anatomy, but also preferences and a whole bunch of other ways in which the body responds to training. So it was helpful for me to practice and try a lot of stuff, whether that's exercises, technique concepts, different programming stuff. So that way I could learn what was best for each person I was helping, not just regurgitate what worked for me because it wasn't always what was best for them. Okay, now along with that, as I've gotten older, I still like having variety because it just keeps things more fun and exciting, and I still have the interest to try new things and experiment. So I've been doing this for 25 years and I still like experimenting and trying to learn new things. When I want to repeat something to see if I can get better at it, I will repeat that element, but I will change what's around it. One of the experiments I did kind of towards the fallish of last year was the heaviest dumbbells we have here at home are 120-pound dumbbells. And I was wanting to see how much I could do for like incline presses if I did like 5 sets to failure. So when I first did it, I think I got like 54, 55 reps. And I was like, I wonder if I repeat this, a couple weeks in a row, if I could get up over 60. And I was like, okay, well, let me do the same warm-up each time. And then I'll go into the presses each time the exact same. But after the presses, I'm going to do weird and different and fun stuff. So I would just change what I did around that element that I was wanting to repeat for performance sake. So that is a technique you can use, especially in this client's example, where if they're trying to create workouts to both show strength progression to the client, but also teach them new things, you can have one element be the same and repeat that element, so that way they can see strength progression specific to that movement, but then also change all the other elements so they can learn new stuff along the way. So that would be a good kind of way of structuring that if you'd like to blend both. The other thing is that we would want to kind of distinguish between strength in specificity or non-specificity. Meaning, when this trainer says, is this person going to get stronger, stronger for what? Or stronger in what way? Like, how are you going to measure that? If you're just asking in general strength, then yes, you don't have to repeat exercises at all, as long as you still have some way to monitor and ensure that intensity is being progressed. However, if the person wants to get better at bench press, and that would be probably the most common repeated exercise in commercial gyms. I want to get my bench bigger, Well, you got to bench a lot. You got to repeat benching. You have to do it for more than 4 weeks. But what you can do is you can either change the variation of bench press. There's about 4 million variations of bench press. So you can look up a bunch, Spoto press, Larson press. You can do different pauses, close grip, wide grip. There's about 4 billion of them. Okay, so you can repeat the variation every 4 weeks, and maybe the variation you choose is specific to where their weak point is. That would be the best way to set that up. Or you could keep bench press the same, but change their warm-up ahead of it and change their other exercises after it. So that is a way of, again, as I explained, that's a way of blending it. But if you want specific strength measured, you will need to repeat a movement. So if you're like, okay, how do I get better at bench press, but I don't want to bench press every workout? Well, you're not going to really necessarily know. Now, you can do a bench press week 1, do a bunch of weird fun stuff for, say 7 weeks, and then week 8, retest your bench press. They likely will have gotten stronger just in generality, like general strength. They'll have gotten stronger, so likely their performance will increase. However, there is technique involved when it comes to major compound lifts like that. So how well they can bench press also determines their ability to express their strength. So we have, in general, just how strong they are, but then you also have strength expression. How well can they show their strength? I've taught a couple clinics, and I've gone to many clinics that have like lifting involved. So person's like, you get the expert or whoever it is, and people come and they're like, teach me how to squat. And you say, okay, well, what's your max? And they might say 365. You watch them squat. It's like, oh, okay, well, as you come down, you're letting your knees, like you're letting the pressure roll into the inside of your foot. So what I'd like you to do is, as you're lowering down in the squat, think of sitting harder, like pushing harder into your pinky toes and harder into your heels. I also want you to think of maybe pulling down on the bar. So rather than pushing the bar up or being like in a shrugged position, I want you to pull down on the bar and thinking of pulling your shoulders down towards your hips. So this gives them better thoracic bracing. Then maybe that outside of the foot pressure helps them better recruit their glutes. It keeps their knees out, which gets better recruitment of their adductors. And all of a sudden, their PR was 365, and all of a sudden they hit it for 3 reps. Boom! It's amazing. Did they get stronger in the last 30 minutes? No. They were better able to express their strength. So technique improvement, which allows for improved strength expression, requires that you repeat the movement enough to work on whatever cue is necessary. And it doesn't mean you have to actually repeat the specific lift. There might be variations of the specific lift that still help you improve that concept. So for example, let's say somebody's learning like leg pressure on a bench press. You can do close grip bench press. You can do Spoto press. You can do extended pauses at the bottom. You can do paused eccentric. You can do reverse band. You can do regular band. You can do weight releasers. There's just a list there. All of those would still allow for you to work on leg pressure. But they all have different benefits to bar control, which muscles being stimulated, chest versus triceps, a whole bunch of other elements. So you can keep a variation of that lift. You can keep rotating the variations as long as the cue that you're wanting to improve, the technical aspect you're wanting to improve, is consistent. So you can create variety around that cueing aspect, but you can't get away from that cueing aspect. So you can't do a Larson press where the person has their feet off the ground and then expect them to learn how to create leg pressure, right? So that would be like the same as doing jumping jacks and say, how do you do leg pressure for bench press? Is if you take away that cue from whatever variation you're doing, they're not going to learn that. So general strength will improve, assuming that intensity in their workouts is continued progressing each time they work out. Specific strength will require that you repeat the exercise. So I feel like I've rambled a lot, but hopefully there was some good stuff in there. The general answer is, do you need to repeat exercises? And we'll extend that to like what this client asked was about strength. But you can also apply this to growth. So do you need to repeat exercises to get bigger muscles? Do you need to repeat exercises to get stronger? Do you need to repeat exercises to get better muscular endurance? Whatever it might be, whatever your goal is, do you need to repeat exercises? The answer is no. But you do need to have some awareness or some way to ensure that every time the person trains, they train to the best of whatever they came to the gym with that day. So that way their body feels that need to make an adaptation from that day's stimulus. If you present a stimulus, the body adapts. That stimulus will no longer create that intensity of adaptation. So let's say that you do a stimulus at a score of 5, and you get an adaptation of 5. So what this means, let's say the body's, I'm trying to figure out how to word this better. Okay, your body is at a skill set of 5. You present a stimulus of 5. So the body says, well, that was at our max. That wasn't safe. If you keep doing that, that's going to be really hard on us. Let's get to a skill like set of 6. So let's progress ourselves from a 5 to a 6. And then you come in and you do another 5 intensity workout. Well, a 5 intensity workout doesn't push the body's limits now that it's at a 6. Maybe it'll say, well, it's kind of hard. Let's go to a 6.5. Well, then you present another 5. And it says, I'm at 6.5. I'm safe. You do another 5. It says, no worries. I'm at 6.5. I'm safe. So if you don't continue to push the intensity, the body will make some adaptations. But once it feels like it has at a safe level above that intensity, it won't continue to make adaptation. So you have to continue to push your intensity in order to continue to get strength. Now, the whole nuances that I probably won't go into because it'll take too much time is the benefit of changing exercises. This is why you would want to change exercises, not repeat the same stuff forever, is the tissues that you are stressing with a specific exercise, your body will make adaptations in that specific tissue set. Oh man, I got into a rabbit hole here. Okay, let's say that you're doing tricep press downs. Your body will make the triceps stronger. It will not make your biceps stronger. It will not make your abs stronger. It will not make your quads stronger. It's only going to adjust to what you're stimulating, which is triceps. The benefit of changing exercises is that you'll eventually rotate through all the muscles of the body, so hopefully all the muscles of the body will have made a progression. So, do you need to repeat exercises? No. Is it helpful to not repeat exercises? In a way, yes. And this is why I've landed on the belief that 4-week rotations are best. It's enough consistency in what you're doing to get adaptation, like high quality adaptation. But it's not like a lack of consistency that you have no clue what's going on. So it's in my opinion, it's a good blend of both. It's consistent enough to get the benefits of consistency. It's inconsistent enough to get the benefits of inconsistency. That's a weird way of saying it, but I think that worked. So, do you need to repeat exercises? No. Do you still need to find some way to monitor and ensure progression of intensity in your workouts? Absolutely. And how hard the workout feels is what matters most. It needs to feel hard every single time you do it, no matter what you do. It needs to feel hard. If the body said, wow, that sucked, I really don't want to have to endure that again, it will then say, okay, well, let me get a little stronger, let me get a little bigger, let me get a little better endurance, let me improve myself so that same thing doesn't feel so miserable next time. Well, if you want to continue to push the body to make that progression, you have to continue to push how miserable things are. You want to stay safe, but it has to be a hard workout for the body to feel that an adaptation response is necessary. And then you need to do that again and again and again and again if you want to continue to push the body each step of the way to continue to make progressions. So I hope that was helpful. I hope it answered everything. I thought it was a fun topic, and, well, I enjoyed it. So hopefully you did as well. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people can help. You can also find more and different information from us every single day on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. If you do find us on there, make sure you follow us so that way we can build out those channels to get a better reach and help more people. And then if you want to donate to support the podcast, you can do a straight donation on the website. You can also go to the website Nutricost.com to buy your supplements. You can use the code BrutalIron10 for a 10% discount. And then whatever you spend, we get a 10% commission. So that's a great way for you to get great supplements at a great discount and give back to the podcast. Awesome. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.